We are joined now by Saskatoon author and mental health advocate Brett Francis. Brett, thank you very much for coming in. Originally from Swift Current, we found out. And this is your book that we're looking at, Not Broken. Give us a sense first, I guess, why did you write this book?
Well, I guess that when I was 6 years old, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and ADHD. And then when I was 17, I was diagnosed with the same. And in addition, anxiety, OCD, and panic disorders. So I've really struggled with mental health and disabilities for the greater part of my life and felt broken and like something was wrong with me for most of my life, and like I needed to be medicated or on some pill, or like I just needed to be fixed, and I just got tired of feeling that way. And the book is not only about my journey, but inspiring other people to kind of find power in their own challenges.
Obviously, with CTVN and that link with Bell Let's Talk Day, we've heard stories like this more and more frequently. I guess the first part of this question would be, how inspiring is it to know that we're seeing more of these stories?
I think it's very inspiring. People are coming out of the dark. There's lots of celebrities now that are really coming out of the dark with their own challenges and feeling more comfortable talking about it. So the stigma is very slowly, but it is coming down.
Yeah, and the second part of that question is, do you remember when, for you personally, it was like, okay, I'm okay talking about this publicly?
It really wasn't until I got asked to speak publicly about it. I lost one of my best friends to suicide in 2011, and when that happened, I did a fundraiser for Canadian Mental Health Association, and through that, they kind of said, "Hey, Brett, do you want to be our keynote?" And at first, I was like, "Well, I'm not sure if I'm ready to talk about this." And then I did, and I had this little woman walk up to me. She was about 4 feet tall, and she said, "Brett, I'm depressed, and this is the first time I'm telling anybody about it." And I went, "Oh my gosh, I can make this difference. I can tell people and inspire them and make them feel better about themselves." And I wish I would have had that when I was younger.
So you mentioned, obviously, 2011 kind of being the first time that the keynote address right after that incident, obviously, very sorry about your friend. Give me a sense then of how you've seen the change in terms of the perceptions around mental health over the last, say, 5 years.
Well, people really ask me, is mental health more common now, or are people just talking about it more? And I say people are talking about it more because, back then, even 5 years ago or more, people would, you'd see that drunk at work, people resorting to substance abuse and addictions and other ways of dealing with things, and people would call them crazy. And substance abuse and mental health goes hand in hand. So a lot of times when you see somebody substance abusing, it's not just substance abusing, or it can cause mental health related issues. And, people are just more comfortable talking about it now because, we look at physical health, like we can talk about cancer, heart disease, all those kinds of things, but we can't talk about mental health. Why? And people are starting to realize, well, why isn't it okay for me to talk about my mental health? It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, you mentioned that the stigma is slowly lifting, and that's probably an accurate pace. In terms of moving forward, are we doing enough beyond just talking about it in this conversation? Are there enough things being done policy-wise by governments and just by society to really get us to that next level? And what is that next level?
Well, it's hard for me as a mental health advocate because I would say no. I feel that the mental health industry is very underserviced, and a lot of people don't know where to reach out to, or they're embarrassed to reach out to, or they kind of get the handoff like I did a lot when I was kind of, getting into figuring myself out. And, and a big part of it is lack of awareness. People just don't know. With my Tourette's, I have tics, and I jolt and I move, and people initially they're saying I have hiccups, and I get actually frequently asked, or people think that I'm on drugs. I'm high, and I'm not. And so I'll say to them, "Oh, I actually have Tourette syndrome," and they'll, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not. And then people, they judge because they're unfamiliar. They don't judge because they really necessarily want to judge.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is that unfamiliarity factor? So we need to familiarize ourselves with it a little bit more. The book is a great starting point. It's called Not Broken. Brett Francis, thanks for a couple of minutes.
Thank you for having me.